So these are your key terms for Lecture 1. These are important words that you should look up in your notes and your textbook and should memorize. These are also keywords that you can put on flashcards.
So these are your 5 soil forming factors that were discussed in Lecture 1. So you have your parent material, so what was the ancestor of the soil? So if you remember back to Lab 1, we were looking at the rocks and minerals. Also, how much time has passed will influence how the soil forms. If it's very old, you might expect that it's deeper. Also, there's biota. What kind of critters or plants have influenced the soil? Also, topography. What has the slope done? Is it at the bottom of a slope where you're going to have a lot of soil, a lot deeper soil, or is it on the shoulder where you're going to have more steeper slope, so less soil? And also climate. When we talk about climate, we look at temperature and precipitation. So how much precipitation does this area get? We'll give you some idea of maybe some weathering processes, and also what is the temperature like? Is it cold? Is it hot? This will also give you an idea of what kind of soil is going to be formed in that location.
So this is your Goldich stability series. This is just basically a why, but what you want to know is the minerals that are in these stability series. It's kind of based off of which are the most stable to the least stable. So at the top, these are the minerals that crystallized first, and they're much weaker minerals versus the minerals at the bottom. So at the top, you have the least stable, and at the bottom, it goes down to the most stable. And then if you think about that, by stable, it also means the weatherability of the mineral. So at the top, you have the most easily weathered to the harder to weather minerals. And then thinking about this in soils, at the top you have deeper profiles because they're easy to weather, versus at the bottom, the harder to weather and more stable minerals have more shallow profiles.
So we're going to go over what a typical soil profile looks like, or what the master soil horizons are. So let's imagine that this is your soil profile. Up at the top, one of the master horizons is if you have a layer of leaf litter or like pine needles, and this is referred to as an O layer. And this is just the organic matter. This is technically not a part of the soil, so if you were to describe this, it would be anything above the starting point of your soil. Next, we would have a layer of your topsoil, and this would be your A. So let's say this is your A. And this is your darker, organic rich soil horizon. And it's usually right up at the top. Next, you have your E horizon. E horizons are the zone of alluviation. So everything is exiting this soil profile. So you can imagine that it loses a lot of color. Things are being removed or leached from this soil profile down into further profiles. Next, you could have a B profile. Your B is an area, a zone of accumulation. So B, zone of accumulation. Next, you could have your C, which is your weathered or soft bedrock. So it looks similar to the parent material, but it's undergone a lot of more weathering processes. And then down here, if you reach it, is your R, which is your parent material. And then I would like to mention that although this is a typical soil profile, it's not necessarily what you see all the time. You can go out into the field and see that you don't have an O, an A, or an E. You can see just a B, or maybe not even seeing an R. These are just the master soil horizons. You can also have other horizons depending on different ecosystems, like a P horizon that Dr. Graham mentioned, which is pavement, which is a layer of like gravel or rocks up at the top. You can also have a vesicular horizon, which is one of the things that comes along most of the time with pavement, where you see little bubbles right up at the top below a layer of pavement horizon.
Okay, so now I'm going to talk about suffixes. So for the O horizon, our only suffixes are A, E, and I. And these are just how degraded the litter in the O horizon is, going from the most degraded to the least. So A is most degraded, E is intermediate, and I is least degraded. For your A horizon, you only have a P suffix, and the P stands for plowed, and this you usually see in farming, and this is where they're tilling the land, and you typically see a very straight horizon. E is the only one that does not have any suffixes. B horizon has most of the suffixes. So B, you have to have a suffix with a B horizon. The only way you wouldn't have a suffix with a B horizon if it's a combination horizon, like a BC or an AB. There, the B wouldn't have a suffix. But going through the B, we have a T, a Q, an M, a K, etc. For C, the only suffix you have with a C is a CR. And that's it. R does not have any suffix because it's not technically soil. If you are confused by the additions, losses, transformations, and translocations in the soil, I recommend going into the textbook because it has a really good explanation of these processes.